Om Shanti, good morning and welcome to everyone. This is going to be a hybrid event. And so some of us are here in the room and some of us are online. So before we get started, we want to just start with about 30 seconds of just quiet, just to bring ourselves present and calm our mind and bring ourselves into the room. Change the slide. Change the list. Thank you. All right, Om Shanti. So before we get started, I just want to let everyone know there was a little bit of a glitch in the scheduling. And so this program will need to end at 12:45. So apologies for that, but we are going to try to hurry things along so that we can finish on time. Change slide. Go ahead, keep going. Keep going. All right, nope, back. There. So first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Karen Peruse, and I am the program director at the Brahma Kumaris in Tampa. I would like to introduce the Brahma Kumaris. We were a worldwide spiritual organization. We have over 9,000 centers in 120 countries all over the world. We have launched a lot of global initiatives such as 1,000,000 Minutes of Peace, 1,000,000,000 Acts of Kindness, a Call of the Time dialogue, Peace of Mind retreats, and many, many others. One of our core principles is that we don't charge for any of our classes or programs. And so it was one of our founding principles that spiritual knowledge should not cost anything. So it is free to all. And if anyone would like to learn meditation, you are welcome to join your local center and take a free class. I also want to mention that the Brahma Kumaris is the largest spiritual organization run by women. So now let's take a moment and we will meet our, before we do that, change slide. Just a bit on the topic here of sit consciousness. So the Brahma Kumaris like to emphasize that inner transformation is the foundation for social change. And this aligns with the with the 1995 Copenhagen Declaration. So the statement introduces our sit-con approach. So S is soul, which means moving beyond material concerns to recognize our inner self. I, understanding that our skills are service and detach us from ego and outcomes. And T, trustee, helps us let go of control to empower others and share our resources. So if you'd like to read more about the experiment and read lots of quotes about how it helped us in the Brahma Kumari organization, you can scan this QR code right here and access the written statement. And we will discuss some more of the details of the experiment during the program. So what I would like to do first is briefly set the context for sitcom. Keep going. Yes, right here. So many organizations start out by coming up with a vision statement. We put a lot of time and effort and passion into putting together our vision statements. But what happens? 2 weeks later, we don't remember what the vision statement says. We get pulled into our day-to-day routines, everything becomes transactional, and we get pulled into a lower morale and we lose that passion. So how can we maintain our original awareness in our day-to-day tasks? How can we integrate moments to reflect, recharge, and renew ourselves? And how can we continue to infuse these efforts with the values, energy, and passion we had when we put our vision statements together? So here to help us with these questions are our panelists. Change slide. So I first want to acknowledge that Elsa and Banu are joining us on Zoom, and Suresh is here in person. So Elsa Marie, I will ask you to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone and tell us about the work that you do. Change slide.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you everyone for having me. My name is Elsa Marie De Silva. I'm the founder of Red Dot Foundation. It's an ECOSOC accredited nonprofit. And, we are based in India, but we also have a US 501c3 Red Dot Foundation Global. The work we do is crowdsourcing data on sexual and gender-based violence. And this was founded in the aftermath of a horrific incident where a young woman lost her life to a gang rape, and it had made international news in December 2012. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of my work.
All right. Thank you, Elsa Marie. That's very important to help women feel protected in this world. So now we will ask Suresh to go ahead and introduce himself and tell us about the work you do.
Om Shanti.
I think we
Om Shanti.
it's for the Red Dot
I think the
Foundation.
slides for Red Dot are now.
So Elsa, could you just share about the work you do?
Okay, if you can go back to the first slide after my, So as I was mentioning that Red Dot Foundation, our mission is ending violence against women and girls through education and advocacy using crowdsourced data for citizen action. If you go to the next slide, this issue that we are working on is a global pandemic, and we all know what it means having been through a pandemic recently. So 1 in 3 women on an average experience some form of sexual assault at least once in their lifetime, and yet 80% choose not to talk about it. What does that mean? There is a data gap in official statistics, and really that affects our ability to respond or prevent it. If you go to the next slide. So what do we do with the CSoCD app, which is a global platform for reporting? It's anonymous and safe. So the survivor does not have to reveal his or her details. No, by design, we are not collecting any personal information. We also do not name, shame, or blame the perpetrator. And we are the largest crowd map on this topic because we have 86,000 unique incidents from around the globe, 86 countries actually. This data is available. You can look at it, zoom in right up to the street level to understand the context of the problem. And we hope it encourages multilateral action because it takes all of us to solve this problem. It's a societal issue, not a women's issue. If you go to the last slide, how holistically we work is we work at the individual level where we try to share that you're not alone, provide a safe space for reporting and provide help information, but also remind people that they are part of communities and that they can go to their community with this anonymized data set and mobilize them into action. And finally, work with institutional stakeholders to implement laws and policies or demand for new policies and laws that will prevent it from occurring and also unlock more resources for survivors. That's in short. And if you go to the last slide, we were very lucky to have the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, talk about our work at the UN AOC meeting in Fez, Morocco, where he, appreciated our efforts to mobilize young people. And we also got a shout out from Secretary Hillary Clinton, where she said that in this world where technology is often viewed suspiciously, this is a great use of technology for good. Thank you, and I'm hoping to share more as we continue with this panel.
Thank you, Elsa Marie. That is very important work to collect that data to help create a safer environment for women. So now we'll turn things over to Suresh Nadella, who is the Village Ambassador for Manakosa Manam. Suresh, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work
Om
you do?
Shanti. My name is Suresh Nadella. I am a senior principal engineer working at Optum. and also a volunteer come ambassador for the village of Chalapalli, which is in South India. And in this village, a decade-long voluntary service led by this trust called Manakosam Manam, that we are working for ourselves. That means the trust has brought remarkable transformations, initiated in 2013 and expanded in 2014. And we have about 30 to 50 residents. They gather every day between 4:30 and 6:30 in the morning. And they do clean the roads, sweep. They do clean the drains. Naranbai, if you could scroll down through the, scrolling down, we have several slides. And then also plant trees, fill potholes, and many other things that we do. And then the efforts of them made that Chalapalli as open defecation free. At the if you scroll down, Naranbai, we scroll more to the next. And these are the plants, and then these are the drains, clogged drains due to plastic that they use. And then we clear them out, and then making the roads wherever there is a problem with the road, then we go and then we basically build the roads and then keep moving. And this is one of the road that we built with our own hands. And if you go back once, oh yeah, right there. And then we were talking to villagers about open defecation free, making them using the toilets and stuff. That place, the whole area used to be a toilet, public toilet. And then we talked to people, and then we built the toilets like these with Tata Foundation and the government. And we built the public toilets too, like for people who come from outside, and then they could use it. And then if you keep going, Naranbai. And then this was actually a remarkable job where they had a cemetery, a crematorium. What is the other one is they use a dumping yard also. So which was very kind of disrespectful for humanity. So what we did, we changed the dumping yard and moved the dumping yard to all the way to the back, and then we built the crematorium there in 2019. This is the picture from 2019. So. And so that's in brief. And if you scroll one more, and in conjunction with the SIT, the effort supporting all these services just for happiness. So that we don't want any reward or we don't want any name or fame. So we want to bring the quality of life for villagers to uplift that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suresh. That was beautiful. What an amazing transformation in that village. If only the whole world could transform like that. So now we would like to welcome Banu Prasad. And Banu is the head of Impact Ecosystems Developer with Digital Impact Squared. So Banu, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about the work you do?
Hello, everyone. Hi. I hope I'm clear, audible. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So the work that we do at Digital Impact Square is something that we are really proud and passionate about. So we work across various social development indicators, especially health, education, environment, and persons with disabilities. Our vision at the end of the day is how could we impact the lives of 1 billion people? And I think India provides an excellent opportunity to do that. So in the process of doing this, we actually work with young innovators and entrepreneurs around the country. We inspire them to actually understand the problems that are occurring in the society and how they can become agents of change, what we call as change makers. And my job, which is amazing, is actually to work with these young people and motivate them, inspire them to bring this change in themselves and then in the societies that they work. If you could go to the next slide, please. The principles that we follow while we are very close to the people on the ground is empathy maximization. We spend a lot of time on the ground. Every problem that we take, at least 6 to 7 months, we spend on the ground just understanding what the problem is, talking to the beneficiaries. Next, keep clicking, please. Once more. Yeah. So, and then, sorry, go back. Yeah. And then the experimentation that needs to happen so that the possibilities that are evident in our discovery is maximized. And then we also work on maximizing value for the stakeholders and for the beneficiaries. Next slide, please. In the process, this journey is not easy. It's not easy for adults grown up. It's definitely not easy for young innovators and entrepreneurs. This journey is filled with a lot of hardships and challenges. So we have taken the support of reflective practices to bring in this courage and determination to go back the next day after repeated failures and try doing this again. So we have a few examples here of how we can encourage cooperation through an attitude of what we could give to the society, as well as encouraging simplicity, because when people are going through crisis, we don't want to add the burden of technology, and we don't want the burden of making solutions complex for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Banu. Such important work in helping young entrepreneurs and teaching them to reflect. So this is a wonderful panel that we have, and they're all doing such important work. And we look forward to hearing from all of your wisdom. So I want to start the panel discussion by talking about how consciousness affects the work that we do. So can you go ahead and go to the next slide? So the first question I would like to go to Suresh. Suresh, can you tell us how, in working in the village, did you translate your vision into everyday action? And what did that look like?
Thank you. So we have a clear vision. We have two goals, to improve the quality of lives of the residents of the village and to eliminate single-use plastic. So for that, we go into action every day, meaning that in the morning when all the volunteers gather, and then we have a set of tasks that are planned ahead, and then we move and then continue to do, and then continue to work towards the vision. So that is, we stay focused on that. So it's been happening from the past 10 years, except for when we had COVID. Following the government guidelines, we had to use distance and then make some adjustments, but still work was going on. So for 10 years.
Okay, how did your consciousness affect getting through those roadblocks?
So the philosophy is that none of us want any benefit or name or fame with that. That's basically, and then that made us focus on the mission of everybody, collective mission, and then also to improve the quality of life for themselves and as well as for the other villagers. So
beautiful, beautiful. I love the acts of humility, bringing humility into it. So Banu, would you like to explain to us, in working with your young entrepreneurs, how you translate your vision into everyday actions? What does that look like?
Right. So as I mentioned, our work involves working with real complex problems. So as I like to summarize it, we see death, disease, and destruction almost on a daily basis. And it's not just us, but young adults see this very often in the process of solving these challenges. And we are constantly looking and talking to entrepreneurs who are actually trying to solve these problems, beneficiaries who are getting benefit from this. One of the things that I have realized is I need to adopt an extremely open and very optimistic outlook in spite of the difficulties and challenges that are surrounding us. Almost everyone who comes to us with a promise to solve a challenge, we support them. We never turn away anyone who comes to us with the passion, the zeal to address a challenge. And however rudimentary, however novice they may be, we encourage them to move forward from where they are. I think that when we see the contrast in the world of what would have happened if that support wasn't available and how failure is so easy, I think it motivates us to actually step up and be that source of support, be that source of initial anchor that we could play in the role of these change makers, so that when they are having an idea and passion to solve something, we are available for them. I think that gives us immense satisfaction that we're able to see this change, not just in the society, but also these change makers who become exponentially wiser than if they weren't solving these problems.
That's beautiful. I love the part about nurturing the zeal and enthusiasm of these young entrepreneurs and helping them face challenges. Thank you, Banu. So Elsa Marie, and the important work of helping bring down domestic violence against genders, and I'm sure you hit quite a number of challenges. both technical and with legal and all that. So can you explain to us how your vision translates into your actions and helps you stay passionate?
Yes, thank you for the question. So the work we do is ending violence against women and girls, and it spans a whole spectrum, not just domestic violence, it's in public space and private space, in the digital space, and it covers non-verbal, physical, and more serious forms of violence, including murder and kidnapping and human trafficking. So, how do I translate my vision, which is also by 2030 improving the lives of 1 billion people by making their spaces safer, is by being a role model for everyone who is around me. As a survivor, I myself have been bold enough to share my story. And in doing so, I'm hoping that others will also break their silence and share their incident. We are not an SOS app. We are here to document your experience because, as I mentioned, it's highly underreported and therefore makes the problem invisible. But by being able to, share your data, you make that particular incident visible, but you contribute to a data set that helps us understand the context of the violence, forces people to acknowledge it's happening and then do something about it. And then the data itself points to solutions because it's very contextual to the location, to the community, and in a way kind of puts community on notice. So we create that space from the reporting to the collaborations to the recommendations for solutions. And in fact, Banu is a mentor for some of our young innovation programs and challenges where we encourage people to take action, do something. Today we are in a world where we are afraid to take that first step, and it's okay to fail, but it's in doing something that you strengthen your muscle to act. And what we need are people to say, it's not okay. I am going to take a stand. I'm going to do it. And you can do it in a non-confrontational way, we don't name, shame, or blame, but in a very collaborative, in a forward-thinking, peace-building way in your own communities. Thank you.
Thank you. So important. I like what you said about helping people make that important first step. So you go ahead and change. And okay. So what I'd like to do now is go ahead and talk about the SIT consciousness experiment itself. So the S is standing for souls. See myself as a spiritual being, so I'm able to transcend all bias. I is instrument consciousness, the understanding that my actions are for a higher purpose. And T, as a trustee, I have the awareness that I don't own anything, but I'm acting as a safekeeper for the world. And so, next slide. So this experiment is going to take 3 very easy steps. We're going to start with an awareness, which is a thought that helps keep me aligned with my highest intentions. The second step is to remind, so we'll start by holding that awareness and maybe doing a 5 to 10 minute meditation on that in the morning. And then to set up a system so that I'm reminding myself about that periodically through the day. And lastly, to journal my experiences. Next. So to help with all of these challenges, the SITCON experiment is about holding a higher consciousness on how we can have a positive impact on our actions and those outcomes. So the panel here has actually piloted this program over the past couple of weeks. And before they share so they're going to share their experience with us and with the audience to help us understand how the process works and how we can accelerate progress towards our STD goals. So we'd like to hear from the panel on their experience during this pilot. So Banu, we can start with you. So you have had the opportunity to practice the awareness of SIT, and can you share with us what your experience was?
Hello, everyone. Yes, so the work that we do at Digital Impact Square is significantly challenging for us as well. So an awareness of who we are and why we exist was actually very useful. And also as an individual, that practice seemed to be much more important to me. The process of understanding that I am actually a point of light or a soul, as the awareness was given to us, was useful for me to understand that I actually have no biases. I look at the other person's potential as being unlimited, and it helps me in my practice of being optimistic towards everybody I meet. Any solution, any person who comes with an idea has potential, and then I look at that person from that perspective. The other aspect is the reflection. So this is something that actually takes taking a pause hasn't been very easy, integrating that into my own schedule. So unless I actually create a schedule for myself at the upfront, and I have times during the day which I have already assigned, like early in the morning when I wake up, or sometime in the evening, and then again before I go to bed. So I've sort of kept my three slots when I get this time to sit down and actually practice this pause. So that's been my experience. Also, I have also tried to use small physical aids. Like, for example, I'm joining this meeting and I need to plug in my headset. So while I'm plugging in my headset, I use this as a nudge that I could say, I'm shutting down the things that are negative. I'm actually avoiding all the noise, and I'm actually going to focus now. And I get a chance to do this multiple times during the day as I join meetings. So I'm using these physical aids also to remind me of the need to pause and reflect. So overall, the experience over the last 2 weeks has been that I could integrate these practices within my daily routine if I take the support of some of these tricks.
Thank you, Banu. So Elsa Marie, we'll move it over to you. Can you tell us about, share your experience with with using CSoCD, how it has helped you?
So our work is quite triggering. It's quite, emotionally challenging because you're listening to stories,
Yeah.
you're dealing with survivors. And as the leader of the organization, also you have other challenges like fundraising in this very complex world that we are living in, where every day regulations are changing. So I think this practice really helps us pause and slow down, remind us to take that breath, and um, taking that breath and coming and stepping back calms you down, and then that helps you think through whatever you're going to do next very objectively. I find this practice really important. Also, the journaling is important because you take the time to actually write down, and that helps you slow down, in fact, because you're writing, and we don't write too much anymore, at least not many people. We are always typing, but we don't write. So I think it kind of, in a way, helps you connect what you're thinking with what you're producing on that paper. You're seeing it, so on many levels, it helps you slow down, but it also helps you reflect. And I think in today's fast-paced world, we need to spend time intentionally reflecting. So this whole practice, I think, can be adopted and should be adopted by leaders, by heads of organizations, but also individuals at any point, because it really is a great practice. And I would say not just a practice, it's a tool, it's also a strategy. So you can look at it from any perspective and apply it in your own life and your daily routine.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love what you shared about the journaling, because we don't journal very much anymore. We do most typing. And so that handwriting, and I think it also helps keep us accountable. So we kind of set ourselves up for success the next day as well, when we're seeing the value on a daily basis. Suresh, would you like to share with us how the experiment worked for you?
Yeah, so What I started doing is that whenever I take the phone, whenever I pick up the phone or for text messages or what, so I'm just going back to that consciousness of like, so you know what, whether, to go back to that, the state. And then I'm gonna basically say that I have to reverse engineer that whatever the work that is going on in the village back to the sit consciousness, because the first one, the soul, there are no biases, whether they're a doctor, a lawyer, whoever it is, they're working for a common goal. That's one thing. And then they're being instruments, like using their skill set, right? Like whether they can do carpentry, whatever they do, they can, work with machines. So they're using their skill set and they're working as an instrument to bring quality in their lives. And also, lastly, when you talk about trustee, we make every rupee that go a long way, meaning that whatever that we get, I mean, we think ahead. When we are planting a tree, we think about protecting the tree. Like, so we use the resources that are available, that the thorn plants, and bring them over. And that it goes on a cycle, and then it's like a machine, like a well-oiled machine. So that's how it works. So, and similarly, the practice for myself, when I do this, I'm thinking about the specialties of others and how we can, and the specialty of self and others, and then how we can bring transformation in whatever the work that we're doing. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that, recognizing your own specialties and that of others. And I bet it really helps the relationships and helping move your work forward when you're really valuing the strengths in others. So I too participated in this experiment, and I found having the meditation in the morning is a very good start, but it's so important to remind myself throughout the day. Otherwise, when I hit the routine and get caught into the busyness of the day, it's very easy to forget. And so what I did was I reminded myself I eat 3 times a day and I brush my teeth twice a day. And so I used those part of my routine as a trigger to practice the awarenesses. And I have to be very honest. I did have an experience of when I was boarding the plane to come here to New York. So this is my first visit here to New York City. And so I was a little concerned about navigating my way around. I'm also from a very warm climate. I'm from Florida, and it's very cold here. And so I was a bit worried about, am I going to be warm enough? Am I dressing right? Am I doing all the right things? And then this is the first time I've moderated this type of event. So all these first, so as I'm boarding the plane, like the anxiety is coming up. And right then, like that practice really came through for me. And I just went into, I am peace, that is who I am. And the anxiety went right away. So it really came through for me in a time when I was feeling a bit challenged. So I think we have time for a second question. So I would like to let's start with Elsa Marie this time. Can you tell us about any challenges that you encountered and any suggestions you have to make this process easier?
I think the challenge is always to make it a habit, right? So I remember my dad saying that if you do something continuously every day for 3 weeks, 21 days, after that, it just kind of is in your psyche. So the way to do it, we all have our phones. We have alarms on our phones, notifications. We can schedule it. So like you said, you eat 3 times a day. Nobody has to tell you that. You brush your teeth twice a day. Why not schedule this on your calendar and let your phone remind you, because it's like an appendage at this stage. And then, of course, once you do it continuously for 21 days, it should become a habit. If not, I would say also get an accountability buddy.
Yes, and we'll get into that a little bit more when we describe this experiment. Thank you so much. I like the idea of putting it on your phone and making it part of your calendar. Banu, can you tell us about any challenges that you encountered and what suggestions you might have?
Right. I'm just realizing, listening to everyone, that I guess I'm a bit more visual and physical person. I need to have something in my hands. So I'm just wondering, what I probably need is a more descriptive flashcard kind of an experience that I could actually flip through and see what the awareness for the day is. Maybe something even on my phone. I think that will work too. Something that I could actually read through and maybe revise it a few times. So it's not just an awareness that I build at the beginning of the day, but then I also revise the awareness. I also tend to pick up words and then map it to the physical world around me, or probably words that I am engaging in my meetings, and then connect back to my awareness. So I want to keep revising that so that when I encounter a word, I can connect it back to the awareness. So that's something that I wish I could do more. Right now, I think the awareness that was given in the pilot was just a single sentence. Maybe we should probably make it more descriptive. That will help me do that. Yeah, I think that could be by experience and my suggestions of what we could do better next time.
Wonderful, thank you. So Suresh, we'll turn it over to you. If you could tell us about your challenges and suggestions.
Yeah, sometimes I mean I always go back to see, like, if I'm looking for any credit, right? Sometimes we basically are we enjoying a credit, right? So when I see the volunteers in the village working for this many years, I call them as yogis, where they don't take any praise. I mean, they take the praise, but they don't take any defamation. They take it equally, like so. Then I call them yogis too. And similarly, like the challenge is that in case if we run into any of the looking for credit or like maybe enjoying the credit, I mean, in a selfish way. So it's like that's where the challenge is. So if it, then we go back to the consciousness of what is our mission, what is our goal, and then are we helping the goal? You know, is so that's what that I go back to. Yeah. So.
Right. And I love that you brought up that point that when you're constantly feeding yourself those positive awarenesses, then as soon as something comes up that's not in alignment with that, like you're immediately aware of it. Yeah, great. Thank you. So thank you, panel. So as with this, as this was a pilot experiment where it's still a work in progress, and we're still molding the process and the tools, but we have made an effort to make a toolkit. So do we have the toolkit? So we made a toolkit, and we want to make this toolkit very universal. So regardless of what your spiritual beliefs are, that this is going to be comfortable and easy and work for everyone. So thank you, panelists, for embarking on this adventure with us and providing your valuable feedback and experiences. So now that we've completed the pilot, we want to explain a little bit about, we want to open this up so that everyone can join. Anybody who would like to join is welcome to join us. And I want to explain a little bit more about how it's going to work. So we're going to run this experiment from probably mid-April to mid-July. We're going to start with an initial group call so that we can discuss the process, answer any questions, talk about things more in more detail. Then we're going to have bi-weekly calls. So as Elsa Marie was saying, that it's nice to have that support system and that accountability. So that's part of it, but also so that we can come together, share our successes, and support one another through the process. And then we will also share our experiences on a Google document. So now I'd like to open the discussion to the participants to see if anyone has any questions about the awarenesses, the practice, the data collection, or any suggestions to help make this both more productive, more enjoyable, and more scientific, as it is an experiment. So if you would like to put in the chat, or anyone in the room wants to say anything, we'll take a few minutes.
Hello, everyone. I just had a question to ask the panelists, including yourself, Karen. So when you'll practice doing soul consciousness or instrument consciousness or the trustee consciousness, what was the feeling and what did that mean to you? Because for each one of us, it's very different. So, which one was more closer to you? Because you had three awareness during the time. So, which one did you choose? Or
Mhm.
was it like every time it was a different awareness that you were choosing? Like today is soul and tomorrow is instrument and day after is a trustee? Or did they work together, all the three, every time? So, how did that go?
Okay, well, I can answer for myself. It was like having tools in my toolbox that when something was breaking down, I had a tool, the right tool for the right situation. So like at the airport, I immediately went into the soul conscious practice of I am peace, and that helped calm me down in that. But in coming in and speaking in front of everybody, then I went into instrument. Like I don't have to do this. I can just sit back, relax, and let the divine run the show. So that kind of helped calm those nerves. So for me, it was just using the right tool at the right time, but having a toolbox full of tools to use. Bono, would you like to answer that question?
Right. For me, I think the instrument consciousness is probably the easiest and my default state. And I tend to gravitate towards considering myself an instrument. And in the process, I realize that whatever I'm doing is actually sometimes I'm surprised myself with the outcome, and I realize that it's probably more beyond my own capacity. And I recognize that it could not have happened if I had done it myself. So I consider myself to be, and I'm working on myself to make sure that I become as frictionless as possible, so that whatever work gets done through me does not have any rough edges. And I'm not actually the cause for slowing things down. And whatever work needs to flow through me flows through me as freely as possible.
Thank you, Bono. Suresh?
So I think it's all three of them together for me. They come in conjunction with when we are working selflessly, when we are so the goal is to remove any obstacles, not to be an obstacle, like Manubai said. So when you have this consciousness, then things will flow easily. So that's for me, it's all three of them, being an instrument trustee and as well as removing the biases. And that way, at least, we are working towards the mission. So goal.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elsa Marie?
I would agree that, for me too, it's all three. And we do a lot of work, I would say, on biases. And therefore, I'm very conscious that it's very important as a leader, like I said, to walk your talk. So you have to start with yourself, right? And in doing so, you then become an instrument of peace, or or you're a channel through which your work affects others around you. And at the end of the day, we are creating a better place that we want to continue. So it's about sustainability as well. So I think all three matter to me. All three I try to live as values in my life, but also incorporate it in our work and with our teams, so that the work continues and reflects the values that we try to aspire.
Right, right. And I think that when we keep thinking about them, then they're right there. They're not buried deep in our awareness. It's right there at the tip of our mind. So it comes in right away. Thank you. Yes.
I'm just thinking if,
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead, Bono, real quick.
Yeah. So as someone who has done this experiment, I'm just trying to see if we could actually get more participants to come in and share their experience. So this experiment involves trying an awareness of soul consciousness, instrument consciousness, or trustee consciousness. It involves practicing a few moments of silence every day and then writing our experience at the end of the day, and seeing how this influences my work and probably even my organization's work. So if there are any organizations out here who actually want to try this or have suggestions of how you can incorporate consciousness into your work every day, so this floor is open for anyone to make those suggestions to join us, as probably also add on to our experiment itself.
Yep. We have Prakash online who would
Yes,
like
he's going to.
Okay, there's someone in the room who has a question too. So if we can go there first. Julie?
Yes, hello.
Thank you.
My
Thank
name's Julia.
Okay.
It's not so much a question, but it's more of a comment. And I think it's very useful, as Banu was saying, because it seems to me that this program has two levels. One is that you are trying to create a habit of this awareness. You have your awareness, your instrument consciousness, and you're a trustee. And so by connecting whatever practice you feel would be useful to a particular thing, like you were saying, when you're washing your teeth or when you're eating, which are things you do every day. So if you connect it to that, automatically you would have that practice. So one is the practice, and the other is situations that come up during the you're not in your practice, but something comes up in front of you. And because you've been doing the practice and you've had experiences and you're building that capacity, then your response to that situation will be quite different. And then you build on that. And then I also like the fact of writing something in the evening at the end of your day to see how you've done. Because I know this is something that I've been doing recently. Up until now, often I would just think, well, how did my day go? Was the intention that I started the day with, was I able to do it? But what I found is it's not so powerful if you just think about it. But if you write it down, then you're externalizing it. And so you're slowing down, you're writing it, and then you're actually seeing what it is that you're writing. And then you can look back and see the progress you've made on a particular thing. So I think the actual practice that you've come up with will really work. If, of course, you do it, it's going to work. And it'll be very interesting to see what the outcomes are. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And then we had someone online who had a question or a comment.
Yeah, that's me. May I go?
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you. Firstly, congratulations to the ones who've initiated the SIT. I feel it's such a simple thing and it's so easy to remember. It's soul, instrument, and trustee. And I just feel it doesn't just help me when I'm having, certain turbulences in my head. It sorts me out, but also it kind of enhances the entire input that I put into everything I do, because consciousness is everything. So if I can have the right consciousness, then it's so beautiful to see the quality of input, and therefore it will also affect the quality of the output that I get. And so I'm sure it looks like a win-win for everyone, whoever's involved in taking this up. And I'm going to try and see how I can obviously implement this with my team members, but also I am also volunteering with a lot of other youth I know there's something we call the IL, which is inspired learning. We're trying to see how we can go out to the society. It's the outreach we want to do in UAE. And I'll probably get in touch with some of y'all to see how we can, take SIT as we go out to do this outreach. It's the consciousness that matters, because I think there's a lot of social workers out there, but like I heard somebody saying, and I think that was Suresh, who said that we are not there for our own selves. We just want people to be happy, and that's the only return that we need on whatever we're doing. So I think it's beautiful to do that. And I have a question here. So we've got about, say, 12 members of our team. So one is, I can take this up. I understand the importance of it. But how is it, and if you can answer that, with your teams, how is it that how do you translate this down within your teams, and how is it that they can take it up themselves and feel, have that sense of ownership that, yes, this is something that we've got to carry with us during whatever we are doing in our lives?
I can take that if you want. So basically, identifying this, one of the things here is that instrument, right? Like this instrument consciousness. So where everyone has a specialty, right? Like, so for example, in our village, right? So as I said, like we are about 50 people, and we take their specialty, we identify their specialty and their interest also, and finding out, and then we make them trustees. meaning that we can give it to them and then they basically deliver, right? So we trust them. So that's how we move forward. So I don't know whether that will answer your question.
The question is, how do they embody the practice of SIT? How do you actually get them to? So what I'm doing is fine, but I would like my team also to do the same, right?
Right. So here is something that we tried. We could actually incorporate this in a few ways. One is integrating this into existing schedules like meetings. The other is to set up dedicated time for maybe taking a pause. Our experience is that we could start our meetings differently. We could start our meetings instead of just reading out agendas or making introductions, to also start with a few moments of silence and maybe focus on a particular virtue. Right. So we used to have this bowl of virtues always in our meeting rooms. And before we start a meeting, we would actually pick up just one chit. And that would have something like a courage or determination or something, and see if we could bring that in during our discussions. And then we also did the same in the evenings. We would just spend 30 minutes of silence and just reflecting on the day. So things like this could be done, which seamlessly sort of integrate with your schedule without taking up too much time.
Thank you. Thank you, Banu. So we'll now see if any of our panelists have a quick 30-second wrap up of any of their final comments. Elsa Marie, would you like to go first?
Well, I think this is a much needed tool. So I look forward to the toolkit and also getting my team involved. I think more than ever, we have to adopt practices that help us slow down, reflect more, and be more intentional about how we show up. So thank you for putting this together. And I look forward to hearing updates on how it progresses. Thank you.
Thank you. Suresh?
Thank you for involving our village, our work in here, and then and also giving me an opportunity to practice this, and then whatever the practically that is being done to practice into into reality kind of. So I have one suggestion for all the organizations who are like the doing social development or transformation, is that one thing we found out that if we want to help somebody, they really need to be involved, the people. So for example, we wanted to go build toilets to the villagers, right? Then they didn't want it. So when we built some, they used it for firewood, to store firewood. So finally we basically we had to talk to them, we had to involve them, and then make sure that the request comes from them. That only then only the actually we were able to successfully build several several of those, and then also the public toilets too. And so that program was successful, and then it became an open defecation free village. So just a suggestion for our other organizations as well. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Banu, 30 seconds, final thoughts?
Yes, I think in our work, we deal with three main stakeholders. One is the change makers themselves. These are young innovators and entrepreneurs from the country. We also deal with the beneficiaries who actually benefit from the work that we do. And we deal with a lot of stakeholders who are actually enablers, who are well-wishers of our programs. So expanding this project to involve them, I think, is also going to be a significant learning opportunity for us in terms of how consciousness not only influences the ones who are serving, but also those who are in fact enabling and amplifying this impact. I think it will be a big learning experience for us, for our organizations to try this. It's going to be filled with challenges, but I think we'll start small and then pilot this as we would do any innovation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I also just want to mention real quick that if you choose to join the experiment, you will get a toolkit that will have an awareness, a thought to hold while you're interacting with others, and another thought to hold while you're performing your simple mundane tasks, while you're thinking about other things anyway, so that you're thinking very powerful, nourishing thoughts. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to end with just a very short 2-minute meditation. So if everyone can just take a deep breath and slowly let it out. And center your awareness to the middle of the forehead, to the self as a soul, a pure spiritual being. As a soul, I use this body to carry out tasks, to perform actions. But this body is not my true identity. My true identity is pure spiritual energy. And when I look at others, I see them too as souls, as pure spiritual energy. As an instrument, I connect to the divine. And I use this body to carry out a higher task. As this body is an instrument for the soul, I know I too am an instrument for a much higher purpose. As a trustee, I realize that nothing belongs to me. Therefore, I have no ownership. But I am responsible for the resources that I use. It's my responsibility to use my time, my thoughts, my words, my resources in a valuable and worthwhile way. Om Shanti. I am peace. Thank you. Last slide, please. So we'd now like to open an invitation to everyone who would like to join the experiment. There is a QR code that will lead you to a Google form to collect your information, and then we will be in contact with you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much, panelists, for sharing your wisdom and your time with us.
Thank you.
Yes, we need the QR code for a few more seconds. Ah, there it is. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elsa and Banu and Suresh, and especially tech team. Thank you all very much.
Narayan Bhai, thank you.
Congratulations and all the best. And we look forward to hearing from all the others if you would like to participate in this